All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this Integrity Short-Term Care Initiative. We're excited to have the webinar today on a little bit more conceptual, just kind of conversational teaching webinar on starting the conversation for extended care. And I'm joined with my usual partner in crime here, Dennis Reiner. And Dennis has been in this industry longer than I have even, but we've both been around for just way too many years. So I like to age ourselves, and I give Dennis a hard time. And he's in my office today for our Christmas party, so I know that I can heckle him a little bit and he can pay me back later. But the key is, you guys, we're really excited to give these webinars for this Integrity Short-Term Care Initiative. We gave 30 our first round, I believe, and 48 of them that we're finishing up next week as the last of our 48. And we're going to show you today where you can see all those webinars on the site and see some other tools. And the good news today, again, is it's Friday and we have our Christmas party here. So everybody's in a good mood. And Dennis and I are just going to give you a nice, fairly brief webinar today talking about starting the conversation and hopefully showing you how easy it is to find that easy button and move through that. So Dennis, I'll turn it over to you and you can say a quick hello and we'll just start rolling.
Okay. Hey, thanks, Tom. Thanks, everyone, this morning. Happy Friday. And, Tom, you like to lead off the webinars and really with kind of what's been our, mainstay of talking point to make sure the agents know about how important it is to create awareness about the importance of this particular topic, extended care planning. And so, I don't know if you want to just go ahead and take this
Yeah,
that slide, or
yeah,
I
you know
mean,
what?
we've
What I'll
already.
Yeah, what I'll do, Dennis, sorry, we're talking over each other. We're not used to being this close to each other when we give these webinars. But no, my bad there. But we do have webinars that we have recorded, and I'll let you guys go on there and listen to the intros. We used to spend a little more time on this, and now just try to keep our webinars from getting too outlandishly long. We kind of breeze through this pretty quickly. The key is, you guys, there's a lot of gray hair in America. Those baby boomers are getting older, closer to claim time. And by the year 2030, we're going to be in this really bad tsunami of problems with not having people planned ahead. So it's really important for you guys to go out and make sure that you listen to some of our webinars, take some of our advice, and go out of your comfort zone just a tiny bit and have a conversation, because most adults haven't had that. So that's really the gist of that slide. And we spent a little more time on some stats and stuff in some of the other webinars. But at the end of the day, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that this is so much needed, and there's so many positives for you. Before I let Dennis jump back in, I just want to tell you, this is such a win for you because of the fact that we've been in long-term care and extended care and short-term care for years and years and years. And we have a career shop here at GoldenCare. And with all of our agencies below us, we've written over $1 billion in long-term care over the years. But we have a huge hurdle to start with, is that we got to turn heads and we got to send out lead cards and get people to respond and say, are you interested in having an agent talk to you? The big thing about you guys is that most of you are selling other products. You got it made. I mean, we look at you and we think, wow, what a gold mine. You're sitting on the hardest part about introducing extended care to your clients. And that's just plain old finding your prospects, right? You have people that if you're selling med sups or MAs or final expense or whatever you might be selling, you're sitting in front of a gold mine because you have a prospect who literally probably hasn't had anybody have a conversation with them, and they'll love you for the fact that you're bringing up something that's really important. So if you're willing to do that, and if you listen to some of the ways we show you, and today's a big part of that, how easy it is to start the conversation, tell you what, you're going to end up making a tremendous amount of money. Number one, we know this isn't a hobby. If you help people, we're going to pay you nicely for it. I say we, the carriers, obviously, but these are great opportunities for you to make more money. And more importantly, not only are you helping people, but your persistency for your regular products and everything else ends up really helping you out. So the market shifted from all those long-term care apps we used to sell. Now we know you need to sell the short-term care and the home health care only plans that we have in this Integrity Short-Term Care Initiative, because underwriting is just really difficult when you get into the true traditional long-term care and even some of those hybrids, where now we have the ability to go out with our product portfolio that we offer in this initiative. And with some of our advice, I think you're going to have tremendous success. And Dennis, I'll let you flip over and just real quick talk about availability if you want, and we'll roll from there.
Yeah, I mean, Tom, the key is, in starting the conversation, you've got to make sure, obviously, you're in front of the right candidate. And certainly, as Tom indicated, you have that opportunity with your existing clients. And and we don't have coverage with the short-term care in every single state, but you can see here it's pretty darn good with GTL Recover Cash and Omniflex, and Wallaby is relatively new, and they'll have more states coming on in 2024. And then in states where we don't have coverage, we have a non-insurance product called True Freedom, and you can see on the home healthcare side, it's again a similar lineup. So the products are important, but really the reality is it's having the conversation and getting people to lean in. And today we're not going to necessarily give you a verbatim memorized presentation, but I want to maybe focus in on and Tom as well in our conversation is really just the track and something that it'll be easy for you to remember and something that will help you to make sure you're hitting all the points when you're having that conversation. And so it's really a 5-step selling process. And again, we want to make sure you're hitting the easy button and that you're not making this very difficult. So we're going to be talking today about breaking the ice, and I'll lead off. Tom will be jumping back in. We kind of collaborate back and forth on this. We'll also be talking, although you don't see it on the screen, the second one will be creating the desire, health matters, setting the stage, and implementation. So we're going to go through those 5. We'll do it in a relatively quick period of time. You can also go back, as Tom said, to the recorded sites, and we've got probably even longer versions of what we're going to cover today. But I'm in Minnesota today, as Tom indicated, and I happen to come here usually every year around Christmas time. I come, periodically during the year whenever we have meetings and have a need to. But sometimes when I've been here in the winter, right now it's 45 degrees and there's no real weather issue. A little bit of rain today, but sometimes it's like pretty darn cold, and I'll notice that a couple of people are missing in the office, and Tom will say, "Oh yeah, they're out ice fishing." And I said, "Well, that kind of reminds me of when we're having our conversation with these clients about ice fishing. In order to get to the fish, you got to break the ice, and it's pretty much what you have to do. And breaking that ice is really the conversation starter. How do you do it? And so it's as easy as remembering at the end of every interview or at the end of every review that you simply just bring it up and say, "Oh, by the way," or "Before I forget, hey, I wanted to make sure that I talked with you about this in terms of we've taken care of your Medicare supplement, or we may have taken care of your Medicare Advantage, but I wanted to talk to you about the rest of your healthcare planning that we haven't discussed." And you might even just say, who do you have your extended care planning through? They won't know probably what that means. And they'll say, "What do you mean by extended care?" It gives you an opportunity to kind of introduce the topic and the reason why you're trying to marry what they already have with something that they don't have and don't yet maybe fully understand. But it's easy just to let them know, and do a quick review of what they have with Medicare, whether it's the Part A, Part B, the Medicare Advantage Part C, the prescription drug Part D. And we oftentimes jokingly say this because it's not compliance approved, that, the Part E represents your extended care planning. And that's what I want to talk with you about today. And again, remember, don't officially use that. That's because it isn't CMS approved. There is no Part E. But my point in sharing with you this is it's very easy just to use what you have. The most powerful thing you have is your voice. And if you'll just use it just to open up the dialogue, and that you'll find it'll take on a life of its own. You don't have to do much. Really, in some of the previous webinars, we talk about the importance of framing the question. And that's what we just did. We're just framing the initial question. We sit back, we listen, we let them talk. I like it to be a 70-30 ratio, 70% listening, 30% talking. And then when they say something, it gives you the next step. And so breaking the ice is just really the whole key to that step is just bringing it up. The creating the desire, and Tom, I'll let you jump back in.
No problem. No, and I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just wanted to let you guys know again, on breaking the ice, if we have time today, Dennis can tell a story about he literally turns heads. Nowadays, we have a perfect storm coming, people, where we're going to end up where you're Democrat or Republican or anywhere in between. The government can't take care of all these seniors with these baby boomers all hitting the age where they're going to start jumping on claim. in mass numbers. So you're gonna see that this is gonna be easier than you think to turn heads if you just do what Dennis said. For that simple, that probably is the most effective line, is just literally finishing up. Jim, Betty, glad we got this taken care of. Before I let you go, I just got to make sure, do you have your extended care taken care of? And it's amazing how that'll start a conversation. Sometimes, we have an objection webinar where they might say, oh yeah, it's all okay, and we'll teach you how to make sure you just ask one more question and have a conversation to find out if they really have something or if they just didn't want to talk right now about it. Whatever the case is, there's lots of things to do that when you will be amazed how easy it is to start a conversation, because they're going to be desperate for us in the next years to come, because you can offer very super affordable, when we do designing a plan, really affordable solutions that can keep people out of harm's way, that they're going to love you for it if a claim happens or when a claim happens. So I just want to throw that in to make sure you realize that, we're going to teach you. Don't get lost in the fact that if you don't close every sale, don't get, caught up in all that other. All you have to do is that little bit of just start the conversation and listen. 70% listening to most of your clients, and you're going to be surprised how many extra sales and how many extra people you're going to be able to help. So sorry, Dennis, I wanted to throw that in before we got him going, and we can move from there.
Yeah, Tom, it's really a numbers game in the sense when you have existing clients, you're not paying for these leads. So you can be a little bit more like, hey, if you go down that path and they find out that they already bought coverage, or find out that they're shutting you down, it's not a big pressure for you to have to try to stay on them the way it would be if you were paying $150 for a lead, an internet lead or something along those lines, and you're trying to wring out every opportunity. But the key with creating the desire is, I want you to think about this statement. People don't always buy what they need, but they certainly almost always buy what they want. And so the key when we're talking about creating the desire is to get them to want what it is that you're talking about. Because the fact of the matter is, the old adage is true: a person convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. When you're asking people to reach into their pocket and to pay for something, they're not going to do it unless they really want it. And so as you are talking with them, say, the main thing is, I want to talk to you about this extended care, which is the other half of your healthcare plan that we haven't taken care of, that we haven't addressed. And so one of the things that I think is really important, and again, this is all part of how easy the conversation is when you're having it, is that when you want them to, when you're trying to now to introduce something that's new, you've been working with them with Medicare, or maybe it's final expense, or maybe it's a life insurance policy, or maybe it's annuity. And so that's something that they know. So here's another phrase to help you to kind of crystallize your thinking a little bit. Anytime when you introduce something that's new, compare something that's new to something they already own and understand. And so if they already own and understand Medicare, because that's what you just covered, then remind them about some of the similarities in terms of what you're going to be talking about that's new. So part of that similarity is you're going to say, as you're aware, Medicare takes care of your immediate care needs, and then kind of review with them what that means about going to the doctor, their prescription drugs, if they had to go into the hospital. But then talk to them about the things that Medicare isn't going to cover, which is so that they can understand that an extended care plan picks up where Medicare leaves off, and you need both to round out your healthcare plan. It's not, as Tom said, it's not rocket science. It's really just getting them to understand and want it. And the way you get them to want it is to realize that they're not covered and that they need to be covered. And that's how easy that process is. When you're, again, trying to get them to understand. Now, Tom, as we go forward and we really get into this aspect, and before we, talk about getting into this health matters, sometimes you have to, in that conversation, get them to understand about that their health could change. And again, you don't have to be like a typical long-term care agent. Sometimes they spend an hour just warming people up, going through the process. Seriously, with your Medicare clients, this should be, probably a 15, 20-minute conversation. It takes about 10 minutes to enroll. This is not something that has to be a long, drawn-out process. It just You let them know that you're filling the gaps of what Medicare isn't covering and why that's a concern because of the dramatic costs that's associated. That this event, a care event, could be the single biggest unplanned, unfunded, and perhaps even unforeseen liability that they'll ever face. And that they may never use their Medicare to go to a hospital. They may only use it for their doctor visits and for their prescription drugs. And so when you start talking to them about what happens if their health changes, and again, you got to get people along the way to understand that whole process. As part of that, creating the desire is getting them to want this solution. And if you make
Absolutely.
it seem like it's logical and that it's not a nice to have, it's a have to have, it makes it so much easier, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely, Dennis. Sorry about that. And that is one of the things that we try to tell you is that, and we have tools and different cheat sheets, if you will, on our site that will show you that, little things that a couple stats, you literally can feel very comfortable with this, saying that stat we say on every webinar, saying, at the end of the day with extended care, the nice thing about these products, and we talk about the fact we say extended care a lot more than short-term care because these plans are flexible and can be very robust or very scaled down. So they're very flexible and affordable. But the nice thing that you tell your clients is if you want to get them to turn your head and lean in, like Dennis was talking about, is it's pretty easy to do it nowadays because unlike long-term care that had a little tougher, what we call claim triggers, these plans that we have in our short-term care initiative, they're used not only for that catastrophic stuff that it's like, oh my goodness, this is a life-changing event that this product saved our lives on the financial side and it really did some unreal things. The nice part about this plan is everybody wants to see value and wants to know there's a chance they'll use and have some value from what they're paying premiums for. So with these plans, you can feel real comfortable saying, there's a 70% chance, and Jim and Betty, between the two of you, about a 90% chance one of you is going to use these type of policies. Because remember, with short-term care and these extended care, home health care only plans that we're offering here today, they pay for things like hip replacements, knee replacements, surgeries. It's such an easy conversation. That's why Dennis said with long-term care, you sometimes have to really drive the point home and spend an hour on this major catastrophic problem. Where with these plans, you can say, the best thing about these extended care plans that we offer is that they have the best of both worlds. They're there for those short claims. They pay indemnity benefits, as you know from our product training. No matter what else is paying, you can have some extra money, even if some other coverage is there via Medicare or whatever, it still will pay and it'll step in. And more importantly, if those other coverages won't pay, you'll be really glad to have this. But these products, they restore benefits. They'll be there for the big catastrophic claim if it comes. They're very, very flexible and usable plans. So it's pretty easy. And again, when we get into product design, we talk about the fact that you can design these plans for 25 or 50 bucks a month too. So they can be super affordable for virtually anybody you're sitting in front of. And that, again, is one of the beautiful things about these type of products for people. Sorry, Dan, to jump in.
Oh, perfect, Tom. That's a great backfill in terms of that. And before we jump into the health matters, just one last point on this is that when you're trying to raise that concern, as Tom said, hip replacement, some of those other, short-term acute conditions that will actually, where they will get better and recover. But keep in mind too that, getting care at home and getting care in a facility, most people, 25 years ago when Tom and I were first kind of, starting on this long-term care journey, man, it was a push sale. There wasn't a lot of awareness. There wasn't a lot of experience, and people didn't have, family members that have gone through this. Today anymore, everyone can relate to someone that's actually experienced some form of care. And as Tom said, that premium justification of knowing that they actually will use it. People don't like to pay for things that they never think will happen to them. And that's why, the long-term care story was so hard early on, because people never envisioned themselves going into a facility. But here's the key. That third step, you've got to make sure you're pre-screening, because if they're an existing client of yours, you may know certain things about them. If you've been seeing them face to face for years, you'll probably know if there's been changes that you've seen in their health, if they're suddenly walking with a cane, or suddenly you see an oxygen tank sitting on the side of the table when you show up. If you're doing with things remotely, you're going to have to be a little bit more discerning about how you ask certain questions. But pre-screening, it's real simple to make sure, because we like to say that you buy these plans definitely with your health. You just pay for them with money, but the health part of it is really important, to make sure. And you have to let them know, unlike maybe what they just went through with Medicare or even some of the final expense plans, where it seems like it's like an automatic enrollment, like everyone can get it. You've got to let them know that because of the amount of that the carrier can, the insurance company can pay out on these things, the carrier is going to be selective on who they actually issue coverage for, and they're going to ask certain questions. So it isn't an automatic enrollment, and it's not something, again, back in the long-term care days where, we're talking about 10, 11 questions. We're talking about just trying to make sure. And Tom, we have some additional guidance on this that you can share on the Health Matters about how easy it is just to make sure we're just asking certain questions to know where you can go, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to lead too soon. You don't want to lead with a solution that you think is best, when in actuality, maybe that client, based on what you're learning, would not qualify for that solution. So this is a real important step with the Health Matters.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dennis. And that's really one of the things you're going to see. And the best thing about it is this is kind of starting the conversation webinar. It's kind of sales 101, because literally what you're going to do is right away, whenever we get into long-term care, the defenses came up. People started thinking, oh, I'm not going to be healthy enough. I heard this underwriting's a nightmare. So the cool thing about it is you do exactly what Dennis said. You say you buy these plans nowadays more with your health than you do with your checkbook. But the good news is, I want to make sure, if I can get my computer to play nice, I want to make sure, first of all, just relax, because the one good thing about it, we have a nice selection of products in this portfolio that we offer for short-term care and extended care. So the first thing to remember is, if you're not currently, I know I've talked to you over the phone, and I think I've even been to your house, you're not living right now in a nursing home or assisted living, right? And you're not receiving home health care services or help with activities of daily living like bathing and dressing. I didn't think so. I know you guys are more healthy than that. So the good news is, even though you buy these plans with your health, because we want to try to offer you the best coverage we can and offer you the most broad band of coverage we can, the good news is I don't want you to panic and put your defenses up, because I can offer you a plan right now in all 50 states. We have something that we can offer protection for you that's really solid coverage, as long as you're not what you see on the screen here. So that's how easy it is. So the nice thing is, you kind of started out saying you buy it with your health, made them a little nervous. Then you pulled right back saying, but don't worry, I have a solution for you for sure. Then, like Dennis said, don't go ahead of yourself and start thinking, I'm designing this plan. We used to have people do that in long-term care all the time. So what you want to do is say, because I want to make good recommendation of what's going to fit for you and what's available in this state, can I just ask you a couple health questions? Is that all right? And that's how easy it is. Literally, it's very conversational. With long-term care, boy, you didn't have to go to med school, but I'll tell you what, you had to kind of get out and have your legal pad and take a lot of copious notes. And it was a big, big, big part of the sales process. With this extended care now, it is a much lighter. It's definitely LTC light, because all you have to ask is literally, Dennis, I know a lot of our agents will be successful right with this question, right? Just saying, have you had any big hospitalizations in the last 5 years, or do you have any big broad health conditions that I haven't heard about in our previous discussions? Can I ask you, a lot of them do med checks and they find out based on the medications where your health is at, because we don't want to mess around with looking at doctor's records and all that other fun stuff. And just getting that conversation, once you do this once or twice, it's really a piece of cake. And this tool is just a screenshot of our InstaPivot tool, and I'm not going to spend time on it because the big thing I'm going to do is a pull away for you guys as agents. This is available, and some of you will love it. But the reality is, it looks a little busy, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I got to learn how to use this really complicated tool. Well, in reality, when you look at our training on this on our site, you'll see it's super easy to use. And it's really valuable because you know which state, which plans are available. Here's all of our 6 plans in our short-term care initiative. You can use this and type in certain health conditions, and it'll tell you exactly what plan they qualify for. And some agents, like I said, love it. Some home offices especially love it. Some agency offices. But what I want you to know today is you don't have to do that. I mean, literally the question I asked you before, are you getting care right now or living in a facility, or do you have plans to get a surgery in the next 6 months? That's about all you need, along with cognitive impairments, which always pop out at you. that's all you need for all of our home health care only plans, right? I mean, that's how simple those are. And I don't know if I have screenshots in this presentation, but you'll see in our training, the home health care only plans are really strong nowadays. And that's all you need to know. So you don't need an InstaPivot tool. Same thing even with the short-term comprehensive plans. I put a screenshot here of the Omniflex for Manhattan Life. And don't worry, I'm not going to read these to you, but some agents literally say, can I ask, you've been in the hospital and you know what, it sounds like you're pretty healthy. Can I just verify a couple more things and make sure I think I have in mind what might be a really good option for you. Doesn't matter if you're using Omniflex, doesn't matter if you're using Wellaby, it doesn't matter if you're using GTL. I'm just giving you examples how easy it is to do that, because literally these are the knockout questions, meaning I can't offer you coverage. And I won't read it all to you, but check it out because I think you'll agree. We're throwing the net pretty wide with these plans, right? Have you had AIDS or HIV that I haven't heard about? Are you eligible? Are you on Medicare due to disability prior to age 65, or are you considered disabled? Down here is your activities of daily living. Next one is, are you receiving home care or been in a rehabilitation or nursing facility currently? Next one, Parkinson's, stage 4 or 5, Alzheimer's. These are major conditions, right? So you can see here, the only one down here, cancer, is a little more common, obviously, in America. So you're going to want to make sure if you're going to offer Omniflex, you read that closely and say, in the last couple of years, have you been diagnosed or are you getting active treatment for it? Again, one of the things, Dennis will jump in, so I'm stealing his thunder, but don't overthink these things and like, ooh, I wonder if I had cancer and it's in remission and I have to get checked every year for cancer treatment. Does that qualify for getting cancer treatment? No. I mean, if cancer's in remission and you're not actively getting treatment, you're fine. So those are the type of things. Just read it as it is, okay? And that's the knockouts for Omniflex. That's how easy it is. Then to get the full-blown plan, remember it's a 2-tiered underwriting. There's literally one more question with 5 parts. Pretty major conditions: strokes, congestive heart failure, amputation by disease, etc. So you can see here, you don't have to use an InstaPivot tool. If you wanted to sell Omniflex, pretty easy for me to talk to Dennis and his wife Jill and have this conversation saying, have you had anything like, obviously at that point, if I'm pre-screening or doing it live, you don't have lupus, MS, muscular dystrophy, any of those conditions, cerebral palsy. So you're going to go through and ask the questions, but it's pretty easy. You know what I mean? It's pretty fast. So all those are on the e-app as well. I'm just telling you, that's how easy you can do it with just the paper app. You could go through and get it done. Wellaby, same thing. I'm going to do this really quick, but one question to see if you get the limited health rider that you'll learn about in our training. Then there's questions 2 through 6 to find out if you can get coverage. And then you go to questions 7 through 11 to find out if you get the full-blown plan. And they do have a height and weight chart with Wellaby. Omniflex doesn't even have the height and weight. So that's how easy it is. I mean, literally, you can use the other tools. Here's just showing you those underwriting for the home healthcare plans to show you how easy they are. And I won't read these to you today because they're all on the site and they're all available. My key is to remember is health is super, super important, but it's one of the biggest abilities of all these plans is their availability. What state are they available in? And can I get through the underwriting? But you just saw right there how easy that would be to weed out and choose which plan will work, because it's that literally that simple. We didn't pull GTLs up there, the GTL short-term care, but it's really similar to what you saw with Omniflex and Wellaby. So Dennis, go ahead and add into that if you need to.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Tom, the important thing is it's really about preparation too. When you know that you're going out and seeing someone face to face, or you know that you got 3 Zoom calls lined up, what you may want to do is just have this, print out that material of a couple of the carriers as a cheat sheet so that you have it. You'll get very familiar, as Tom said. You do it once or twice, you'll know what the big red flags are, and then you can let the client at ease and let him know that, hey, I'm not governed by any one company. What I am for you is I'm a shopping service. And based on the things you're telling me health-wise, I'm going to shop, as Tom said earlier, get you the best coverage possible. And we've chosen companies that don't make it difficult for you to do business. They're not going to require you to give any fluids or, generally speaking, unless it's a rare circumstance, even have a phone conversation to go over anything. And certainly they're not going to, ask medical records and specialists. This is a very streamlined process, but I want you to know I'm going to shop and get you the best coverage possible. And so then when you move into step 4, setting the stage, you're moving into to how you're going to lead. Based on what they tell you in step 3, you should have a very good idea. Hey, I'm with someone right now that's going to be a standalone home health care, or maybe I'm going to need that True Freedom product, because you've heard about a bunch of conditions that they've said, and you'll begin to know exactly how to navigate through. And this is just a snapshot that Tom is providing to kind of show you a good, better, best scenario where, and we're just giving you, some age bands here because some of you are working, that upper age marketplace. But remember, these products go all the way down. Omniflex goes all the way down to 45, and Wellaby goes all the way down to 40. And they have a great range as far as their upper age capability, up to 89, respectively, with Wellaby and Omni, and 85 with GTL. But look at those premiums and look that you can find, because part of what setting the stage is finding where the budget needs to be. Because remember, if it's a husband and wife, you want to take care of both of them. And so you've got to account for that. And they don't have to have the same plan design. You could have one that could be buying a more robust plan like the Ultimate, let's say, and the other could be buying a classic. But the point is, you have to make sure that you're covering that. And there's a couple of things, Tom, just to give just some rules of thumb of what goes into the components of plan design. It really starts with their current age. And it also starts with, again, the health that we just covered. And it starts with the budget. Those are really the 3 factors that you're going to need to remember is age, health, and budget. Simple. And again, part of this is just knowing when you're hearing and the things that they're telling you, you're also going to know what's more important to them. They may have had an experience where someone stayed at home. They may have had an experience where someone was really a family member had been confined to a facility and went through a big expense. So be the good listener, and then basically, it'll allow you to set the stage with what's going to be the very best recommendation. And remember this, I said that you were a shopping service. It doesn't mean that when you shop for them that you show them every option. That is a mistake. What you have to let them know is that you're listening to them, based on all the things that you're learning about what they've taught you about their health, about their goals, their objectives, maybe some of the budget limitations. And then when you lead with that one recommendation, because multiplying words divide attention, which means keep your presentation simple. And when you multiply too many options, it divides interest and it creates indecision, because they think, okay, Tom just showed me 3 different products. There's probably 3 more he didn't show me. So I think I want to just think about it. Where they have to know that what you've done is that you've scoured the marketplace, that you're not governed by any one company. And this is what your recommendation is, so that you can, again, help them along that process and decide what's going to be important in terms of, and then you're going to have to, when you're doing that, you're going to have to reinforce, obviously, what's in that plan as far as that recommendation and how it works. And of course, these plans today with the extended care are so consumer friendly. They are, there's some benefits and features in these plans that will really resonate with the client. We're not giving you a product specific webinar today, but we're just saying that is all where you're going to, make sure you're reinforcing those points in this 4th step, setting the stage. Tom, anything you have to add to that?
Yeah, I do. I just want to make sure, because I love what Dennis said about multiplying the words divides the attention, because it is valid fact. This chart isn't something I would ever show to my clients. I do a lot of this stuff, and I like to have my agent prepared. So as an advisor and agent, I want you to know really quickly some different rates for different age bands, so you can get an idea. And even this, this is just to give you an example of it. We're going to have these put together with home health care only rates, so that you're going to see some of these plans that I just want you to be able to have a conversation. That's the key, is hitting the simple button. So if I'm talking to a 65-year-old, I will know in my head by glancing down or at my other computer screen if I'm not live, saying, I just want to make sure you understand the biggest thing when your head hits the pillow tonight, I want you to have that peace of mind of knowing that you've got that layer of protection. And truthfully, from everything I've heard, and I've done this before, or whatever your story might be, you really are going to have that peace of mind. People love when they get these plans in place and they know they got that extra protection, even though you think you may not know that you needed it. So when you're headed to pillow, all I want you to know is I can do something that's really affordable as well. And when you get into our product design and some of the other tools that we have, you'll see if this was home health care only, that 65-year-old, I can say, boy, I can give you a nice little plan for less than this. And then you have reimbursements on the prescription drugs that you're going to have that'll lower that premium. We have some premiums when you start out with those home care plans that literally they're almost playing, single digits a month, under $10 a month sometimes for a pretty strong little plan. So there's a lot of things we can do affordability wise. I do this just so you guys know in your head. I mean, this over here for this example, what do we got here? Omniflex. This is a $500,000 policy. I mean, that's a solid, big, full-blown plan. So these are going to be a little higher tickets. So the last thing I want you to do is start showing all these different options and have people get sticker shock or anything like that. So Dennis is spot on. These kind of tools are for you to kind of understand. And what we see is agents will kind of grab based on where they're selling products. They'll kind of grab in their own mind what they feel is a pretty solid protection. And then they'll find out from talking to their clients that a lot of people think that same way, and they end up selling a lot of the plans that are a little bit more, we say cookie cutter, but reality is that's how simple these plans are, is you can end up having really nice, easy, simple recommendations for your clients. So sorry, I got a little windy on that, Dennis, but I just wanted to make sure
that's perfect. The implementation, just to wrap it up here on the 5-step selling process, is if you were face to face and you remember with that Health Matters, you've already pulled out the app. So you've already introduced the client to the application, and I would have actually pre-filled it prior to my conversation, so I wouldn't have to go back in, or I would let them know that I have this information. But it's nice to pre-fill it with the name, address, and some of the information you already know. And so that when you're doing this, you can streamline that process and make it even quicker. On a paper app, you could probably get this down to 3 or 4 minutes as far as and to be done. But if you're doing it through a Zoom and you're doing using the e-app process, you could have said to them, you could have had on your screen what Tom had, the paper version, and basically you've already checked those boxes and you knew pretty much, because the carriers are very similar with the underwriting, other than the height and weight chart that Tom mentioned that Wellaby has and the GTL has. And that could be a factor, and also there's differences if they're a smoker or non-smoker. Some carriers they don't have much of a load on the smoker, and some do. And so you'll get to know that, and you can certainly rely upon the marketer that brought you on and reach out, even for back office support from our standpoint. But the implementation is streamlined, and make sure that also when you get done and you've been having this conversation with that client, that you cool them down. You don't necessarily, even if you're doing a Zoom call, you don't suddenly wrap it up just because you completed the paperwork. You let them know what the next steps are. You manage people's expectations, because you don't want people rethinking that decision after you got done because you rushed off, and then they're thinking, gosh, maybe we shouldn't have done this. Make sure it's just a lot. It's sales 101, quite frankly. But you have to do it just like you would with Medicare or a final expense. Just make sure that they're comfortable. Make sure they don't have questions. Make sure you let them know what the next steps are. There's going to be a pharmacy check, typically what the turnaround time is. I'm going to be back in touch with you. And, we've covered having this conversation. It really is, we want you to hit the easy button. And if you're going back to your existing clients who already like you, they trust you, they know you, they've done business with you, then you've already been able to establish that rapport. You've created the integrity. Now persuading is you're just trying to not, coerce or do anything heavy-handed. You're basically just trying to make sure that you're leading them to that logical conclusion that this makes sense. And when they confirm that it makes sense to you and that they feel like the power of leverage is better than the power of using their own money, you'll find that you will make sales, and you're not going to get everyone, okay? But the fact of the matter is, everyone that you have as a client, you should have that conversation with, because there is that obligation to make sure that you don't leave them thinking that they're covered when in fact that they're not. And if they, as Tom knows, back in the day, we used to do a lot of takeaways with even have people signing a waiver form to make sure that they knew that at least we introduced them to the conversation and that they felt that they were already covered. I'm not saying you have to go to that extent today, but I am saying that you should make sure whether they buy or don't buy, you document in your file maybe a follow-up communication that goes out to them saying, hey, on our review, we had that extended care conversation. You elected not to move forward. I just wanted you to know that I wanted to make sure you were aware of how important I thought it was. And because that way you've got documentation in your file that you actually had that conversation with them and that they elected not to implement the solution that you had recommended. So the site that we have is so user friendly for you because it has everything in one spot. Tom, I know we're wrapping up here in just a few minutes, so I'll let you kind of give the overview of how powerful this resource page is.
You bet. Yep. And a lot of you have been on previous webinars, so Integrity Short-Term Care. It's integritystc.com. There's everything you need. We don't throw you out of that plane without a parachute. So all the products that we have in here, you have videos and training and overviews and tools that the carriers provide, and we provided for you for all these different carriers and all these different products. And you can find those up here or down below. Here's the sales and marketing. If you click on sales and marketing really quickly, I want to show you in case you don't remember where it is. Everything you need to know, some stats there, but everything you need to know to be successful out there. Way down below, Dennis is just a pro in this industry, and he's got some fireside chats and some conceptual selling ideas in these relatively short videos down here. Then we've got the sales and marketing, the full-blown. If you click right here, view full webinar schedule. If you click on that, you'll see every webinar we've given in this portfolio. There's 54 of them on there for the full-blown webinars, so you never have to feel like you missed a topic. Then we have fast fact videos that go into some more details about some of the powers of short-term care plans. The InstaPivot, I told you, that marketing underwriting tool that truthfully is really strong. I always downplay it saying you don't have to use it, but I really recommend if you're going to get involved in this a little bit up to your neck or up to your waist in the weeds in extended care, that is a cool tool just to know instantly. My staff uses it all the time because instantly they see the ages, they see what state it's available in, and they can go deeper and see what health conditions it'll cover. So it's a nice little tool for you if you want, especially if you're home office. Then marketing for agents, if you want to recruit agents underneath you, and then marketing for consumers. So very quickly, that was a brief overview, but the key is every slide we end with says the next step is up to you. If you haven't done it yet, go to this site, integritystc.com, click on get appointed, and all this does, it takes you 1 minute. Name, email, phone number, which integrity partner invited you to the webinars, and we track that on a unique code so we know who invited you anyway. So we'll take good care of you and make sure it goes to the right place. And then usually you just click all products because that way you can help everybody you're in front of potentially. And you can go down here and click sign me up, and that's all it takes to get the ball rolling. So super, super simple. And again, we can't tell you enough about how much we appreciate you taking your time today to jump on this call and for jumping on all of our webinars and checking out all the different tools and supplies that we have to help you be successful. So I want to thank you myself from Tom Randall, and Dennis, I'll turn it over to you to finalize the close and we'll finish up.
Thanks, Tom. I just tell you a quick little funny story. So I had a call the other day from an agent, and he was on the site, and he was asking me a question about where he could find something else. And in the background of his computer, I'm hearing Tom Randall's voice. I'm going, what is going on? He was listening to one of the product trainings that Tom has done. He's done a whole bunch of them on specific features of the product about restoration or some other things. And so I just got a kick out of that because it's not like I don't hear his voice in my head, too much as it is, that now I'm on a call with an agent and I'm actually hearing your voice, Tom, in the back. So I got a kick out of that. And he was just looking for some additional videos. But, if you'll prepare carefully, if you'll present professionally, and if you'll follow up thoroughly, I will promise you, you cannot help but have success. And remember, at the end of the day, you want this to be simple, easy, and fast. And we hope that you'll take advantage of the future webinars. And remember, even though we may have had this topic done on previous segments, it's always a little bit different. So you may want to fast forward on some of those other webinars and see, but we don't, we say sometimes some of the similar things, but oftentimes we also add in some additional content, and we're here to help. And have a great rest of your day on Friday, and have a great weekend that's upon us. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Yep. Thanks everybody. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
The next step is yours. Contact your marketer for more information and to start offering short-term care solutions to your clients. And be sure to sign up for our other short-term care hot topic webinars.